Oh my god, guys. Oh my god. We no longer have to wonder what the next Resident Evil game or the next remake is going to be, because Capcom just straight up revealed Resident Evil Veronica on June 5 at the Summer Game Fest. The Code Veronica remake is finally real. It is currently slated for 2027. I have already watched this trailer multiple times and I get chills every single time. But what struck me immediately is that this does not look or feel like just another remake. This does not look or feel like Capcom simply taking Code Veronica, giving it better graphics, modern controls, putting the camera over Claire's shoulder, and calling it a day. This looks and feels like a complete reimagining of Code Veronica. Why? Well, because of the way this trailer is presented. Most of it is framed in first person, and it feels very deliberate. There is a clear emphasis on atmosphere, immersion, detail, and putting us directly in Claire's shoes. Now, this doesn't confirm that the entire game will be first person only. Since Requiem gave us the option to play in both first person and the third person, I would not be shocked if this remake does the same thing. Perhaps future trailers will focus more on third person. Maybe this reveal was simply framed this way to preserve the mystery for as long as possible before fully showing Claire. You know, building hype through anticipation and suspense. But based on this trailer alone, it absolutely feels like Capcom is selling this remake through a much more immersive horror lens. It immediately reminded me of Resident Evil 7. Not in terms of story, obviously, but in terms of presentation. The first hour of Resident Evil 7 feels almost like a horror tour through a grounded, terrifyingly realistic environment. Before the game throws any danger your way, it lets you slowly soak in everything around you. It lets you walk around, inspect everything, take in the atmosphere, and feel the dread building around you. This is the kind of feeling I got from this trailer. It feels intimate, slow, personal. It feels like Capcom wants us to experience Claire's search and fear from the inside rather than simply watching her go through it from behind her shoulder. This stands in pretty stark contrast to the modern remakes we have gotten so far. The remakes of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and Resident Evil 4 were all built around the modern over-the-shoulder formula introduced in the original Resident Evil 4. These remakes were about giving the classics modern controls, pacing, aiming, and a stronger sense of control over how you move, fight, etc. So naturally, I think a lot of us expected Code Veronica to get the same treatment. But this trailer does not feel like this at all. It feels like Capcom is saying, no, we are not just remaking Code Veronica in the same style as the other remakes. We are rethinking what Code Veronica can be. And it's not just the perspective that makes me feel this way. The opening itself already seems different from the original game. In the original Code Veronica, Claire infiltrates an Umbrella facility in Paris while searching for Chris. She gets discovered, captured by Umbrella, and then transported to Rockford Island, where most of the game takes place. It's a very immediate opening. You are thrown straight into the action. Claire is already invading Umbrella, helicopters are firing, security is chasing her down, and then suddenly she is captured and sent to the island. But in this trailer, the setup seems a lot quieter and more personal. We see Claire arrive at an apartment complex or residence in Paris. So the Paris setting is still there, which is important, but the actual approach feels very different. She rings the doorbell, a kind old lady welcomes her in, and we see where Chris was staying during his time in Paris. We see his apartment and how messy it is. We get this much more grounded setup where Claire is not immediately storming an umbrella facility. She is investigating, searching, trying to find her brother. This alone makes me think Capcom is going to spend more time on Claire's perspective and emotional state. In the original, we know she is searching for Chris, but the game moves very quickly into the larger horror of Rockford Island. Here in the remake, it feels like Capcom might give her search more weight and room to breathe so that it can be explored more deeply alongside what it truly means and why it truly matters. This goes hand in hand with the first-person framing. It truly feels like they are putting us directly into Claire's headspace. Her search, fear, confusion, and desperation all feel more personal. Honestly, I'm all for this because we have been starving for more Claire for years. Now, she still gets kidnapped, but this time by a more recognizable figure. You know the drill. Gas mask, red lenses, tactical presence, cold, silent, professional energy. Hunk, is that you? After Requiem, the commander, and the whole is he actually Hunk conundrum, I'm starting to think that in Resident Evil, a gas mask with red lenses immediately equals, is that Hunk? In this case, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just Capcom knowing exactly what imagery they are playing with. But either way, it's very funny that I just spoke about the commander being a Hunk surrogate in my most recent video and short. And here we have another may or may not be Hunk situation. Now, after this cold opening, the rest of the trailer just hits us with pure Code Veronica nostalgia. We see Claire being taken to Rockford Island, we see shots of the island itself, the iconic golden lugers, the residence where Alfred attacks Claire with his rifle, Alfred himself, though not fully, the place where we meet Steve, or at least I think this is it, a horde of zombies. Like, this is where the chills really hit. Because it's one thing to hear Code Veronica is finally getting remade. It's another thing entirely to actually see these locations, objects, characters, and that atmosphere brought back in full RE Engine glory. This is the kind of thing that makes you go, oh my god, this is actually finally happening. Now, the other major thing that sells me on this being more than just another remake is the title. This is not being presented as Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake. It's Resident Evil Veronica. This matters. The other remakes kept their original titles except for RE3 dropping Nemesis. Capcom did not suddenly rename Resident Evil 4 into Resident Evil Plaga or something. But here, they are clearly doing something different. They are stripping away Code and presenting this as just Veronica. This feels intentional. It feels like Capcom is not only modernizing the game, but also repositioning it, rebranding it, reintroducing it as something that can stand on its own for a new generation. This is why this trailer has me so excited. Code Veronica didn't just need better graphics, it needed a chance to matter again. I've been saying it for a long time now. Code Veronica has to be the next remake. Capcom already remade Resident Evils 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Code Veronica is currently the most dated and archaic game in the main series. It was technically a big step forward when it was released, but now it absolutely feels left behind by history. The original Resident Evil 4 and the remakes of 1 and 0 all aged much better. Resident Evils 2 and 3 were older, but they got remade first, as they should have, while Code Veronica was just skipped and left there waiting. And this remake was not just long overdue because the game desperately needed a facelift, it was also overdue because Code Veronica is incredibly important to the larger Resident Evil story. This is one of Claire's biggest chapters. Outside of Resident Evil 2, this is probably her most important game. Revelations 2 gave her another major role, sure, but that game is shared with Barry and Moira. Code Veronica is a much more direct continuation of Claire's journey after Raccoon City. And we desperately needed more Claire. Chris has been all over the modern era with Resident Evil 7, Village, and even Requiem. Leon got the remakes of Resident Evils 2 and 4, and now Requiem. Outside of the CGI movies and Revelations 2, Claire has been largely neglected, and Revelations 2 came out in 2015, 11 years ago. Wow, I feel old. So bringing back Code Veronica is not just about remaking an old game, it's about finally giving Claire some more love. But Code Veronica is also essential because of Chris and Wesker. The inevitable remake of Resident Evil 5 needs to be preceded by a Code Veronica remake. Resident Evil 5 is built around the final confrontation between Chris and Wesker. It's the end of that rivalry. The final battle between two characters whose hatred and history go all the way back to the original game. But Code Veronica is the chapter that really cemented that rivalry. In the original Resident Evil, Wesker reveals himself as a traitor near the end, unleashes the tyrant, and then seemingly dies. Code Veronica is where we actually see Chris and Wesker confront each other as enemies. It's where Wesker returns, where their disdain for each other becomes more personal, and where the road to Resident Evil 5 really starts to take shape. So if you skip Code Veronica and jump straight into Resident Evil 5, you are missing one of the most important stepping stones in the entire Chris vs. Wesker saga. This is why remaking Code Veronica had to happen first. Resident Evil 0 would have been the next best option for next remake because it's also rarely remembered, and we also desperately need more Rebecca, who is more neglected than even Claire. But Code Veronica is more urgent both mechanically and narratively. Now, it's funny that I almost dismissed this trailer when I first saw it. The day it dropped, I woke up, checked YouTube like I usually do, and saw a Code Veronica Remake reveal trailer on my homepage, but it was from a smaller channel and the view count was low enough that I immediately thought, okay, this is probably fake because, let's be honest, Resident Evil fans have been seeing fake AI thumbnails, remake trailers, concepts, and the Resident Evil 9 reveals for years now. So I initially assumed this was just another AI thing. Then later, when I sat down to work on my other channel, I opened the YouTube again to put music on in the background, and I saw this trailer again, but this time from an actual major gaming channel. That was when I realized, oh, this is real. So I watched it, and the rest is history. The chills hit, the hype took over, and whatever I was supposed to be working on for my other channel immediately got put on hold because I just had to talk about this. Now yes, I definitely have a lot more to say about Code Veronica, what this remake needs to fix, what it should keep, what it should change, how it should handle the characters, gameplay, structure, and the difficulty, like everything. But this is all way beyond the scope of this video. I will probably make separate videos on those topics because there is a lot to discuss. For now, this is just my first reaction, my first impression, and my attempt to process why this reveal feels so exciting. Because to me, the most exciting thing is not just that Code Veronica is finally back, it's that Resident Evil Veronica already looks and feels like more than just another remake. Capcom appears to be rebuilding this game from the ground up while still keeping its soul intact. And this is exactly what Code Veronica deserves. So yeah, I'm hyped. I'm extremely hyped. This is so peak, absolute cinema. Capcom has been cooking lately and they can honestly just take my money right now. But what about you? What do you think of the Resident Evil Veronica reveal trailer? Does it look like a faithful remake, a full reimagining, or something somewhere in between? And what are you hoping Capcom keeps, changes, or completely rebuilds from the original Code Veronica? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider dropping a like and subscribing. I would very much appreciate it. Also, please do check out one of the videos on screen as well. And if you'd like to support the channel and help me keep making content like this, you can find all the ways to do so in the description and in the pinned comment. Whether it's through a small donation or just watching and sharing, every bit of support means the world to me. Thank you so very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.